What is going on, everybody? Randall Thor 19 here for a special weekend edition of the Xbox 2. I'm one of your co-hosts, and with me, the man of the hour, the one everybody here has tuned in to hear, Jez
Yeah,
Corden
right.
from Windows Central. What's going on, Jezzy?
Hi, I'm pretty good. I'm roasting my balls off because it's really warm in the UK. At least warm for me. I don't like it. I don't like it, Rand. I don't like it when
I
it's
don't
warm.
like it. I don't like being warm either. It was funny because when we went to E3 when we first met, because me and Jez have actually met in real life.
In
Uh,
real life.
in the reels. It was lucky because LA can be hot, but man, it was nice and cool when I
Yeah,
was in
it
LA for a
was
bit.
it was surprise. Yeah, it was overcast, wasn't it? I remember.
Yes. In fact, I
Different
remember when I
place.
first met you. You were at the front of the line of the very special influencer and press behind the closed doors Galen Center thing on Monday night. Like me and South like roll up with like Tim, and who do I see at the front of the line but none other than Jez Corden in the flesh at the front of the line. And we
All
skipped and got in right behind him. We like skipped a whole bunch of people. Jez was like, "Come right here with us." I'm like, "All right."
right, man. Yeah, good times, man. It's a shame that how hard it is to get to E3 because it's fun times meeting everyone. Oh well, maybe next year, eh? You gonna go next year, man?
I want to. I mean, I wanted to go this year, but you know, things didn't exactly pan out the way it was supposed to. Just like the reason we're doing this podcast on a Saturday instead of a normal Wednesday,
Yes.
which, to be fair, we're both a little to blame for this. Jazz was spending time with his family, so we weren't going to do it Wednesday or Thursday. We were supposed to do it on Friday, but then my internet, Comcast, you bastards, my internet was down most of the day, so we couldn't do it yesterday. So here we are on a Saturday doing the podcast, which um, I don't know. What do you think about weekend Xbox Two, Jez?
I think it's cool, man,
Yeah,
because it's had proper night's sleep, so that actually it's better in a way.
yeah, it is.
Those sleeps don't usually come on a Friday or a Thursday. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty chill. How are you feeling overall, matey?
Overall, I'm doing all right. I watched a couple movies this week. Actually tried out a beta for a game, which I'll probably talk about during the uh, what we played section. For the most part, I'm doing pretty good. Just kind of preparing for next weekend because this time next week, I believe EA kicks it off with EA Play, right?
Oh, they first? I should probably check the schedule.
I'm pretty sure they're on Saturday.
I don't know.
And then Microsoft is on Sunday morning with Bethesda Sunday night.
This is true. And Sony's a bit later in the week.
Sony's Ubisoft, Square Enix, Sony, and the rest of them are all on Monday. So yeah, so Saturday this time next week we'll get to watch probably a 15-minute demo of Anthem. And who knows what else EA is going to show. But yeah, it's almost that time. It's that time of the year. It's Christmas and E3. It's exciting, man. I'm pumped. Even though maybe I really shouldn't be, I still get excited every single year to see all the big games.
Why shouldn't you be?
My expectations for this year's E3 are kind of low.
I don't know, man. My expectations for third party aren't low.
You don't even care about third party. I mean, I care about third party as well. I don't know. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later, like our wish list. But what are we going to be talking about today? Well, Crackdown 3, apparently. I don't know. Jez was in the middle of this storm about, is it delayed? Is it canceled? We'll talk about that.
Yeah. I should just not tweet.
Yeah. You always get yourself like stuck in the middle of these things. You know that?
Yeah, it's not intentional, believe me.
Oh, come on, Jez. You can lie to the people, but you can't lie to Rand. You love the attention.
Oh God,
Jez loves all the attention.
it's part of my job, isn't it? So I don't know, but yeah, sometimes I just forget and I tweet things and then it's everywhere. But I don't know. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, what else? PUBG versus Fortnite because and not in the sense of the game versus the game and which one's better, but more in the sense of PUBG is like literally suing Fortnite. And I know you wanted to talk about it and you have some things.
I love this story so much.
So we're going to talk about that. Jez also wanted to talk about our wish list for Xbox or just an E3 for general. Like what would make the show for you and things like that. Jez is going to review. That's right. He's going to review the State of Decay 2 patch. Does it really fix everything wrong with the game?
Literally everything.
Literally, a 20 gigabyte patch came out for State of Decay 2.
Yeah, it was a big one.
And you won't believe what it did. Right? Now that's a clickbait title right there.
Yeah.
You should totally.
You should add that as the video title.
Yeah. What would it be? State of Decay 2 patch. You won't believe what it fixed.
Unbelievable capitals megaton patch.
Huge news.
Huge.
And then whatever else that we can think of. If you have any topics, make sure you put them in the chat or use super chat or whatever way you want. We'll probably get to some of those. But first up, as always, video games. We loves them. We plays them. Jez is going to tell us all about State of Decay 2 because I have a feeling that's all he's really played this week.
Actually, no, he isn't.
What?
It's almost all I've played this week. Yeah, I played a lot of State of Decay 2 this week. As I played a lot of State of Decay 2 last week as well. I just killed the last plague heart. I've been taking it steady, exploring and stuff like that. I just killed the last plague heart literally about an hour before we went live. So that's fun. A plague heart's sort of like the first part of the main sort of mission, I guess. You have to go around killing all these plague hearts. And then when you're done, you do your legacy missions and stuff like your leader missions and stuff like that. But I suppose the biggest news about State of Decay this week is, like you say, the big patch. It was a complete reinstall of the game, so it was over 20 gigabytes. I can't remember exactly. It was like 20.3 gigabytes or something. And completely reinstalled the game. Fresh install of the game. It fixes a lot of stuff, dude. A lot of stuff. Probably the best thing it fixed.
So why was it a complete reinstall? I mean, it's not like the patch was 20 gigabytes. I mean, no. It was a complete reinstall of the game with some fix. So why do you think they made you re-download the entire game, basically?
I think they've done some under the hood changes to the way the game sort of handles the multiplayer portion. Because I played with Roby last night, and Roby lives on the West Coast of America, and obviously I'm in England, and usually the latency between the continents is completely unplayable, but I played with almost no lag. I mean, there's still a little bit of lag, but it was playable, at least. This was post-patch, and I was very, very pleased with the result. Also, this week, I've been playing on an Xbox One S instead of an X, and wow, the game is pretty bad on the S.
I actually heard it has a better frame rate on the S than it does on the X.
It has a better frame rate, but it has these weird... Well, it had these weird hitching issues where if you drove too fast, the game would freeze for you, but it'd keep on going. So, like, you could get killed or drive off a cliff or something while it was hitching and stuff like that. And it got pretty bad. And if you drove for a long time, the whole game could crash. But it seems they've fixed that now on the S, which is nice for S owners. So it fixes some of the most annoying systemic issues with the engine. Oh, and also the lighting issues in multiplayer because the torches weren't working in multiplayer. Oh, and grenade throwing wasn't working properly either. Sometimes you could throw a grenade and it'd bounce off the back of your head and just land at your feet and blow yourself up. So they fixed that too. So they've fixed some of the most annoying issues. But there's still there's still a lot of room for improvement. Like the game still has, bugs and stuff like that to do with the base building. Like I had a bug right now where one of my NPCs kept falling through the floor and stuff like that, pathing issues, and some of those other sort of bugs are still there, but it's a really really nice step in the right direction. And
Now, do you think review scores would have been higher if this would have been the way the game launched to begin with, instead of releasing a patch a week later or 2 weeks later?
uh, I don't know, man. Some of the reviews were really harsh about the bugs, but others just didn't really get the gameplay. Like, the fact that it's like a, almost strategy game on top of an action game. Like some people were trying to play it like it was an action game and sort of didn't really get into the simulation, which is where all the depth is and where the addictive gameplay is, in my opinion at least. So I don't know if it would have changed the review scores. It's a weird game. There's nothing that you can really compare it directly to. It's got like strategy elements, simulation elements, RPG elements, action RPG, combat in ways, and I don't know. I just like some of the stuff that was complained about in some reviews I saw from big sites was actually fixed before the game went live, but they still didn't update their reviews to reflect that. So I think this just wasn't of much interest to most game reviewers, to be fair. So not that I'm calling out anyone's professionalism or lack thereof, but
Someone just commented in chat. Did I miss it? No, where is it? Well, someone wanted to know, do you think this other reviewers should go back and re-review the game now because it's supposed? Oh, yeah. Omnio Jacum says, Jez, do you think it deserves the review scores to be reappraised?
I don't know, man. I mean, it's on Microsoft at the end of the day. I mean, this is the game they were selling to people. This is the game that they gave to reviewers at the end of the day. So it's on Microsoft really, for not delaying it a month or something to get these last few finishing touches on it. And I don't think. I mean, it's unlikely that anyone's going to go and reappraise their scores anyway, because it's E3 this week. Nothing like that's going to get done. But the good news is that despite the review scores, it seems to be getting pretty good engagement anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft put out a press release, and I did a video about it. Was they had 1 million players in. See, this is where the press release gets tricky. They say they have the 1 million players in 2 days, but it was really 6 days. 2 days from the global launch. So when it came out on Tuesday, but the game launched on a Friday. See, with PR, especially Xbox PR, you got to read through the bullshit.
It's tricksy. It's tricksy.
Tricksy. They say 2 days, so you're thinking to yourself, "Oh man, 2 days. Game came out on Friday with the Ultimate Edition. That means Saturday, Sunday, 1 million players." But that's where they get you. You got to read the fine print. And the fine print said the global launch release 2 days after that, which is the Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday. So it had 1 million players in 6 days, which is pretty good. And then they said it broke a record. But in the PR, there was no mention of what record it broke. And I remember asking you, I'm like, Jez, what do they do? And you were like, this is confusing. All it did was it broke a milestone, being 1 million players, but it also did more in 6 days than State of Decay 1, which is good because State of Decay 1 went on to be like a 5 million seller. So is this? I mean, what is the significance of this? Is this just people wanting State of Decay 2? Is this Game Pass? With the low price and the game being in their day one, kind of helping out the game quite a bit.
It's a combination, isn't it? Like State of Decay has a surprisingly passionate fan base from the first game. They had a very active community before State of Decay 1 even launched. It sort of predates that Kickstarter thing, and yeah, it wasn't on Kickstarter, but Jeff Strain had a following from his World of Warcraft days, and he sort of built a community around State of Decay before the game even launched, and there was hype for the game, and they were pretty upfront about it back then, and they were like, I mean, I remember all this because I followed State of Decay in the same sort of way as a World of Warcraft fan. and a fan of Jeff Strand's work and stuff like that. And I sort of they were upfront. They were like, "This is like a proof of concept, and our more long-term roadmap is to move towards this sort of like multiplayer game with much bigger scope, you know." And State of Decay ones are proof of concept, blah blah blah. So like, I was on board, and a lot of other people were on board too, and they're still on board, you know, and they've still got that sense of community and all that sort of stuff. And they brought that into State of Decay too, so that helps it a bit. Also, it's a multiplayer game, so people be like, "Oh, come and play this with me. Come and play with my friends." Blah blah blah. People convincing their friends to play it, which is always a compelling purchase reason. Also, the price point helped, and also Game Pass helped. So it's going to be a combination of things. Now, the real interesting thing about this is whether it will translate into a sequel, because like Microsoft are like talking about, is this success that Microsoft talking about, is that real success, or is that nice sort of PR statement success? You know, we're never going to see the balance sheet, we're never going to see the money, and we're never going to know if this game will get a sequel until, you know, it pans out a bit more and we see like how the updates handle things and what the DLC brings, because there is supposed to be some kind of new mode in the works for the DLC, and it'd be interesting to see exactly what that new mode is. But them's the facts, man. It's interesting to think about what the future of this game looks like, and ultimately we don't know. We don't know.
Well, that is true. Ultimately, we don't know. Yeah, so I mean, it seems like it's doing well for itself. I think
it's doing well, all things considered.
Yeah, I just wish the game launched with a lot of the patch that just went out would have been there day one instead of coming out weeks later.
Yeah,
which is, you know, it's a shame that had to happen. But hey, it's fixed for people that are currently playing it, supposedly. Jez, what would you give a rating on this patch out of a 10 or a 5-star system, because that's what you use at Windows Central? Would you rate this patch a 4 out of 5 stars?
I give it a 3.5 zombie brains out of 5.
All right. Anything else you've been playing?
I've been playing Frostpunk. I won't talk about this very much because it's been out for a while now. But are you aware of this game, Frostpunk?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about it. When it got announced, or when it just showed up on Windows 10 and PC, people are like, "What?" Yeah,
I was really surprised by that. I've actually been playing it on Windows 10. Instead of because this is the thing. I was waiting for a Steam sale, and then it hit Windows 10, and I was just like, I'll just get on there then, because it's got achievements. So I'm just one of them kind of people. But yeah, it's really good. So basically, what you do in Frostpunk is it's got that sort of survival layer that State of Decay has, where you are in an apocalypse, you're trying to build a base, trying to survive, and you're battling the environment and the elements, basically. And the real attraction of this game is that it's got really great graphics and really great artwork. So like, it's all steampunk and mechanical, and obviously because it's set in a sort of ice age apocalypse where there's snow everywhere. Like, the snow has physics when all the units are moving through the snow, like in Rise of the Tomb Raider, you know, at the start of that game. So it looks really great. The UI is really nice and all that sort of stuff. So, and it's addictive. You know, you build your base. You got, you know, keep your people happy, keep them fed, and get resources. But it's more like a classic sort of overhead real-time strategy game rather than State of Decay, which is sort of strategy mixed with action RPG sort of combat. So yeah, man, I love survival games. Can you tell?
I can definitely tell you do, and I don't really care for them. You know what it's like? I never really have, so
it's fine. It's different strokes, you know. I mean, Long Dark was my favorite game on Xbox for the longest time. Did you get it? Longest. I
remember you used to talk about that game all the time.
I love the Long Dark, man. I had some of my most amazing experiences on Xbox in that game, just from the randomness that happens. like bear walking at you out of the snow and stuff like that. I just love that stuff, man. And State of Decay has elements of that too, where like it's pitch black in the darkness, and then suddenly you see like a zombie with glowing red eyes in the window, and it's all procedural and random, and chaotic, and I like that. I like that in games. So the roguelike type stuff, I don't know.
Yeah, so Gunstar75 has a question for you, and he says, Jez, no hungering deep?
No, I haven't touched the hunger.
But Jez, Sea of Thieves was supposed to be this year's PUBG, bruh.
Oh my god. Hey, first of all, there's still time, okay? Second of all, the way PUBG's going, Sea of Thieves might be bigger than PUBG by the end of the year.
Oh man, we'll have to get into that in a minute. But
so if Sea of Thieves is bigger than PUBG at the end of the year because PUBG kills itself in a lawsuit, that counts. That counts, and I was right.
Okay, fair enough. But I see a lot of people talking very positively about their experience with the Hungering Deep, with the Megalodon, the quest to fight that beast that actually has a full, complete body to it this time.
I've got a confession. I was so convinced it was a giant crab.
You were convinced it, even though like all the hints during the trailers and everything, like kind of.
I thought they were doing a bait and switch, right? And it was going to be a typical Rare thing where it was like, oh, it's obviously a giant shark, blah blah blah. But then it'd be a giant crab, because they had the crab cave paintings, and there was a little crab walking around at the start of the trailer. I was like, yeah, I see what they're doing there, but I totally overthought it. And it was a Megalodon. I am planning to play it on Monday on a stream, so hopefully I'll get to check it out then. But nah, I've just been addicted to State of Decay, man. The problem with Sea of Thieves, Rand, is that I think to really enjoy that game, you need to have a group of 4. And it's really hard to get 4 people together to play that game when everyone's so busy, everyone's doing different things all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. I mean, part of me even wanted, I kind of wanted to, check out the content in Sea of Thieves, right?
Mm.
But even still, it was like I need 3 other people, and none of my my friends want nothing to do with Sea of Thieves. Like, I remember playing it with Gopher, and Gopher's 2 hours in, he's like, Gopher literally is like, Rand. I'm like, yeah. He's like, fuck this game, and he turned it off, uninstalled it. But, so it's like nobody in my circle wants to play Sea of Thieves. So it's like, oh, okay,
yeah, I mean,
but it is out. I mean,
the people in mine don't want to play it either,
So I mean, this is what Sea of Thieves needed. They Rare has 4 teams working on content drops for this year.
Yeah, that was the most interesting thing, because I interviewed them last week for Hungering Deep, and they were like, yeah, we're setting up a 4th team for content. So like the team that made Hungering Deep now, they'll go on and work on the next piece of content that's coming out in a few months' time, and the idea is that the more teams they've got working on the content, the longer to lead time they have, the bigger the updates will be, and therefore eventually Sea of Thieves might be fully fleshed out. But and deliver on the potential that everyone sees in the game, but no one really, no one can really claim that it has that depth outside of the social interaction stuff. But if you don't find cosmetics compelling as part of the gameplay rewards, which I don't, and if you don't find solo play fun in like this dangerous multiplayer world, which I don't, there's still not a great deal of stuff to do. I don't care about the cosmetics. I mean, sometimes I do care about cosmetics, but they don't even look that good in Sea of Thieves, in my opinion. So, I just haven't found a compelling reason to play it again, which is. But I'm still hopeful that they'll deliver on the potential there, because obviously there's pretty big potential. But we'll have to wait and see. I would rather see State of Decay grow with 4 content teams, to be honest.
Indeed.
That'd be interesting.
Shout out to Mighty Ryan for the super chat. We appreciate it. Thanks for the support. He wants to know do you think the Switch will outsell the Xbox One this year? And if it does, yes, what do you think Microsoft can take away from that? Now, what do you?
100% yes.
So I'm gonna answer that 2 ways. Will it sell more than the Xbox One this year? Like if you're just taking 2018, yes, of course it will sell more than the Xbox One. Now, I think you're talking about the overall sales. Like, will the total sales of Switch eclipse the total sales of Xbox One? I don't think it will this year. I think it will next year. I think they got a little bit
What
too.
Switch at now?
18 million, I think, almost 19. I want to say.
I think they could do it with Christmas.
It's
I swear, if Fortnite drops on the Switch,
which it will,
which it will, and
then the Pokemons,
and then you got Christmas, Fortnite, Switch plus Christmas equals millions of sales. I don't think. I guess like the real question is, will Nintendo be able to meet demand?
That's the question. I think they are predicting, or at least shooting for 20 million Switches this fiscal year, which is a lot. They do have the Pokemons, and they do have Smash Bros. Coming this holiday. They also are launching their online system. I think it'll be close. I just think they'll fall short, and they'll just pass them easily next year. You know what I mean? But then again, we won't ever know because Microsoft never gives updates on sales info, and I can't imagine Nintendo coming out and saying we patched Microsoft. It'll just be people like, you know what I mean? Like Switch hits 40 million. People are like, I already know how this happens because people don't know how much Microsoft sold. It's anywhere between 25 million and 40 million, right? And once Switch hits 30 million, you're already going to see people saying it outsold Xbox just because nobody knows what it is. But what can Microsoft take away from it? I mean,
the truth is, Microsoft already knows that, you know, mobile is important. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not sure if they truly care or understand how important that's going to be. And also, Microsoft already has a contingency in place here. Microsoft believes in cloud streaming. So sure, in Microsoft's mind, if Nintendo sells tons and tons of Switches, Microsoft is just going to cut a deal with Nintendo and say, let us stream Xbox games to the Switch. I think that's what Microsoft's really banking on here. They don't need. I mean, Microsoft could easily make a Switch competitor. They could easily do that because they've got the deals with the processor companies, you know, Nvidia and AMD and all those companies, and they would jump at the chance to be funded by Microsoft to make a Surface Switch type device. You know, they would easily do that. They could do that. They could blink and it'd happen, but they're not going to do it because there's more money to be made in just putting a subscription service on Nintendo Switch instead. So I think that's Microsoft doesn't have a takeaway for this because they've already envisioned this scenario, and they've already got a plan for it, and that is cloud streaming. That's what I think.
Right. The only thing I would take away from it is that exclusives maybe matter more than they think they do, because the Switch has been riding high on very popular exclusive titles like Zelda and Mario and things like that. And clearly people want them and they're buying the system to get those experiences. And now you also have the third parties starting to get on board a little bit. Fortnite's going to be absolutely massive on the Switch. It's going to sell Switches.
Yeah.
It already sells Xboxes and PlayStations. It's going to sell Switches. So takeaway is that I think if you create compelling, great quality exclusives, people will buy the system to play those exclusives on. I mean, we already kind of see that with Sony, with God of War, and how well that has done. 5 million copies in a month. You know, the third biggest game to reach, like, possibly the fastest game to reach 1 billion views on YouTube. You know, Sony having the best sales month since like the Wii U in 2009. You know, all those factors into the sense that God of War was a very desired game by a lot of people on that platform, and people wanted to play it, so they bought the system. So that's the takeaway for me. But also, I think largely the success of the Wii is, or the Switch, is because of the mobility, the portable aspect of it.
It's a different beast, you know.
It's
a completely different beast. You can play it anywhere, you know, and you can just sort of you can play it while doing other things as well. You can like have a Netflix show on your TV and then just have your Switch in your lap playing that free-to-play Pokemon game and all that sort of stuff. So it's a bit of a different beast.
And the thing with Fortnite is that it's free to play and it has cross play and cross progression on like everything. So like you could just download the game on the Switch and you have the, your cross purchases and your cross play. You're going to have a user base to play against, and your purchases, if you played it on Xbox or PlayStation, people are going to be like, you know what? I feel like playing, the Fortnite while taking a shit. And they'll just they'll load up the Switch and they'll have all their characters there and they'll leave, or somebody's watching TV and they can do it there. Man, fuck, Fortnite's about to blow up again.
Yep.
So yeah, thanks for the question. Thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Now, God, I'm finally getting to what I played this week. Man, I actually played the Crew 2 beta. Jazz, did you play this last year at E3 at all?
Nope. It's a racing game, man.
It is. And it's actually pretty good. I'm surprised. I wasn't really a fan of the Crew 1, but the way the cars handle on this, so arcadey, and I am down for arcadey racers. Has the really interesting concept of being able to transform into a car, a boat, or a plane when you're free roaming at a drop of a dime. And it's literally the United States map. Like the whole map is the United States, and it takes apparently an hour to drive from one end of the map to the other end of the map. That's how big it is. And then, of course, when you actually do the races, it's like you're stuck with one kind of car or one type of boat or whatever. But I was really impressed by what I played, and I can't wait to play it. Comes out at the end of the month. And what else did I play? Oh yeah, Detroit Become Human.
Oh, yeah, I've heard good things about that game. Like even from people who don't usually like David Cage. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's amazing. I love it. And I can't recommend it enough. Now, of course, you kind of have to be into those style of games. What do we call those style of games, Jazz? The interactive movie experiences? Kind of? Is that what they're called?
I don't know what they're called, technically.
I mean, they're like the Telltale games. And don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything. I wouldn't do that. They're like the Telltale, whatever genre the Telltale games and the Life is Strange games is in, that's what Detroit and that stuff. It's a game where there's quick time events, where there's dialogue choices, but on a timer. There's moral choices you have to make, but of course you're timed. You could lose characters. People could hate you. But man, it is so well done. Such a great game. It looks amazing on the PS4. I'm playing it on the Pro, and the story is I was just hooked, man. Like I played it Friday night for like 4 hours. And yeah, in the beginning you'll be like, vacuuming the floor and washing the dishes and things like that. But it kind of serves
adventure games though, isn't it? You have to do that in Walking Dead and
yeah, someone's calling right now
to some degree.
Somebody's calling right now to tell me to stop talking about PlayStation games. I don't know. I do have people that will like message me and be like, Rand, stop talking about PlayStation. You're not a PlayStation gamer. You're an Xbox gamer. Why are you talking about PlayStation games, Rand?
Tell him to go and do one. Games are games. Doesn't matter what platform they're on.
They like one guy even suggested I make a second channel strictly about PlayStation because he doesn't want to see any PlayStation on my original channel. I'm just like, what kind of shit is that? I'll do what I want. It's my channel. This isn't called Randall Thor 19 Xbox or whatever, or like Rand's Xbox channel. But yeah, back to Detroit. I thought it was an amazing experience. About 10 hours long. I went back and actually replayed stuff, trying to get Now, here's somebody calling out. He said, "Rand, the show's called the Xbox 2," and yes, it is. But in this segment, we are talking about games we played, regardless of the platform we played it on, and that's just how it is. But everything else is kind of always related to Xbox. So yeah, I highly recommend Detroit if you have a PlayStation and if you enjoy those type of experiences, because I could see people playing it and not really being down with the interactive, because it's like loosely a game. You know what I mean? Like very loose. The gameplay isn't what I would call the best, because you just kind of like walk around, you interact with the right stick. The quick time events and stuff like that. So it's like it's very loosely a game, but what's there is pretty damn awesome in my opinion. So, all right. With that said, what else I play? Oh, PUBG. But we're gonna get into PUBG versus Fortnite now. Jez, I don't know if you saw, but PUBG's lost half of its audience since January.
Gasp.
And
I wonder why.
And they also put out they're also suing. They're taking Epic Games to court in South Korea. And they're trying to protect their copyright, which I'm assuming is a copyright on the mode. See, I don't know really anything about law, because but I especially don't know anything about South Korean law. But I don't think this is a good look. Regardless if they have a right to do it and they're trying to protect the game or whatever they're trying to protect, it looks like, to most people viewing it from the outside, which is all of us and everybody in chat, right? It looks like they're just salty and upset that Fortnite copied them really fast and became bigger, much bigger than PUBG ever was.
Yeah.
And they see their declining player base, and they it seems to everybody else that they're just sore losers in this regard. So what do you think about that?
I think there's no way they can possibly sort of come away looking like the good guys here. I don't know. It's I think they're crazy for doing it. I don't know if they thought like, oh, we're doing it in Korea, this won't get back to the US or something. It hasn't really worked out as they wanted it. I mean, I haven't seen a single person say, yeah, PUBG, go for it, get them, and stuff like that. I haven't seen anyone saying supportive things. Have you?
No, I have not. No. Because, I mean, the market's decided. The market decided that Fortnite is, the standard bearer. Not that it's a better game, just that it's
so much more accessible.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Fortnite, like,
it's a different game. It's just ridiculous.
I wouldn't say it's a different game. There's a lot of things that copied. Like the plane flying overhead. Some of the weapons are basically carbon copies. The blue like circle encroaching in. Even some of the UI looks very similar and lifted from PUBG. I mean, and it's just the problem here is I think it's because they're such an indie dev, because they are, they were, and I honestly felt they had time. Like, they thought that they could come out on Xbox and put out a game, right? And then maybe build the game and put it out on PlayStation, and they still would be first in this Battle Royale craze. And they never accounted for Epic. Because Epic then, literally in 2 months, turned their game into a Battle Royale clone, went free to play, and then went on every console. Went on Xbox, went on PlayStation, on PC, now on mobiles, going to be on Switch. And it just kind of killed the momentum that PUBG had. It just killed the momentum of that game. It's still incredibly popular, don't get me wrong. It's like the most played game on Steam, second or third most played game in the world. But while Fortnite is rising, PUBG is declining. And I can't help but see this lawsuit and think they're trying to get some money out of this. Like, maybe they made poor decisions. Maybe going with Microsoft was the wrong choice and locking out the PlayStation for a year. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a great choice. Maybe they, I don't know, but it just seems like a situation where someone who had an idea first, which they really didn't, because it's just a copy of even H1Z1. It's a copy of a copy. They get one up by somebody else, who did, that idea better, and now they're upset and they're whining and they're stamping their feet on the ground and trying to have the courts decide it, right?
Mm. It's and I mean, there's another aspect to this. I'm not really familiar with Korean law. Like, if this is the done thing there or something, because I think it's significant to point out that this isn't supposed to be aimed at any other market. It's just the Korean market where they're trying this out. So I mean, sure, it could impact other versions of the game or something, but I don't know. I think that's an important point to make. Like, are they abusing some kind of legal loophole here to bring to make this litigation happen? Clearly, either they've got a completely moronic legal team, or they've got some sort of compelling evidence here. You don't just sue someone if you don't think you're gonna lose. If you think you're gonna lose, because it's gonna be really expensive to lose. It's really expensive to lose a court battle. At least it is in the West. So I don't know.
Yeah,
we need a lawyer. We need a lawyer to explain it to us.
Yeah, we do. We need somebody who's like, is it something to do with how South Korean laws, something there? I don't know. I mean, I know they're based in Korea. Like Bluehole is a Korean company. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know, but it just seems to me as an onlooker, as someone watching on the sidelines, that man, like, and considering everything about what we know, is that when Fortnite debuted the mode, the first thing that happened was PUBG and Brendan Green and these guys basically saying that's bullshit. You can't copy our game, like right from the get-go. You remember? Because we remember, I'm like, man, PUBG just gave Fortnite the biggest PR because they started talking about Fortnite and saying how it wasn't fair.
Yeah.
Right? So from day one, they've been upset. Now, was it upset because they feel Epic had some sort of advantage because PUBG licenses Unreal Engine 4 from them, and that PUBG was doing all the legwork to try to get like 100 players and a huge server and did all that stuff, and then Epic took what they built and made it better? You know what I'm saying? Like, there is some sort of there's a business relationship there between the two companies. One provides the engine and support, and one's like the person using the engine. Did Epic do something they weren't supposed to? Or something, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's an interesting battle, and I kind of wonder if they even have a chance. If it's literally a court case of, hey, look, we both have a plane that drops people in, we both have a blue wall that comes in, we both have weapons that look like that. Is that like what they're really arguing about? How they got ripped off, or is it something deeper? Like, hey, we licensed this engine from them. We did all this stuff, and then they took that and then used it for their own game when they're not supposed to. You know what I mean? Like, is that something that could be true? I don't know.
And yeah, I mean, it's all right for us to sit here and, well, for me to sit here and say that it's stupid, or for people to say it's stupid for them to try and sue them. But it's like you say, maybe there is some seriously messed up thing that they've done here that that they actually have evidence for, that they do have grounds to get some sort of compensation for. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch, especially when the details start coming out. So that's a story to watch, I think, because I don't know how all this dev licensing stuff works and this engine licensing. But couldn't Epic just literally pull the engine out from underneath them and just kill the game?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It would be interesting to see the contract. I wonder if it's contracted for a certain amount of time. Could that be a case where they're like, no, you don't have the right to use our engine anymore. Stop selling the game. You're in breach of contract. I'm sure there's probably stipulations in the contract or whatever that would probably prevent that. And that would also, if that happened, that would be a bad look for Epic. Yeah. That, their competitor, someone that they license an engine to, that's not a good look for other people trying to use Unreal Engine 4, is that, Epic Games could essentially pull the use of the engine and then you lose your game. So that's something they probably wouldn't even bother considering. And why would they? Because Fortnite's the biggest game in the world. They're not worried about PUBG. PUBG's worried about them, you know? So I don't know. I think it's only I think Fortnite's only going to get more popular, and I think PUBG is just going to decline. Especially with Call of Duty coming out with the battle royale mode, with maybe Red Dead coming out with the battle royale mode. Hell, with not even with Battlefield 5 coming out with not necessarily a battle royale mode, but just new multiplayer. Like I think PUBG had its moment in the sun. It kind of ushered in this popular mode, and now other games will kind of take the mantle and run with it. I
It's kind
think
of interesting because, like, I mean, what you just said reminded me of World of Warcraft again. Because I remember when World of Warcraft came out, and everyone used to say this about World of Warcraft, like, oh, everyone's going to rip them off now. And every couple of years, it was like, oh, this is the WoW killer, this is the WoW killer, this is the WoW killer. Nothing ever really came close to even approaching WoW's numbers, ever. And, like, the one game that almost did, Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn, then Blizzard sort of turned around and released Legion, which put the numbers back to almost to where they were during the game's height. So it's just funny, I mean, sometimes, like, games innovate and then everyone copies them, and then they just sort of it becomes like a standard. But then there are other games that just sort of they just remain the standard for that genre. So it'd be interesting to see if anything ever beats Fortnite and what it did. I mean, at the time, God, did you ever envision PUBG with all the accolades it got last year and all
I know,
the milestones?
right? Do you remember last year when it was like people were like it was up for the game of the year, and people were like, no, no. Everybody was talking about PUBG as it was like this huge phenomenon, which it was. But here we are, 6 months in 2018, and nobody really talks about it anymore. It's all about Fortnite. And remember, Fortnite was looked at with kind of like people laughed at Fortnite. People laughed at the fact that they copied PUBG. And here we are. It flipped. It's amazing how stuff like this happens in the industry. Like, PUBG's not held up as high anymore. Half the player base is left. Fortnite's about to come out on the Switch and probably even have more users.
But this is the thing, it's like everyone's saying PUBG. I mean, I see this on on Twitter. Like, whenever PUBG tweets something, people are like, "Oh, stop tweeting! PUBG's dead." And it's like, well, it's still the most played game on Steam. It's kind of not dead. And you've got all these other games like CS:GO, which are still absolutely huge. You never really see anyone in the Twitter community talking about CS:GO, but it's still an absolutely massive game. So, like, some of these games just sort of, they have all the hype, all their press. The press moves on, the fair weather fans move on, and then they just have this sort of sustainable core which keeps the franchise alive. Like, and even games that haven't had a new game in ages, like Halo, there's still, like, super passionate Halo fans who they talk about Halo all day, every day on Twitter, and Halo subreddit's still very active and stuff like that. So PUBG's slipped out of the limelight, but in our sort of world of where social media seems to be like some kind of standard bearer for anything. Like, if people aren't talking about it, if it's not trending, hashtag trending, then it must be dead. Well, that's not the reality of things. PUBG is still a very, very huge game. It's still making a lot of money, and hopefully this competition with Fortnite will sort of light a fire under them, and hopefully we'll get some polish out of that thing, because it's still rough. It's a meme how rough it is.
Well, yeah. Shout out to the Osmond for the super chat. He says, "I'll never play PUBG again." Great show, guys. Thanks for the comment. Thanks for the support. And I mean, you're right. Like, I'm just going back and thinking 6 months ago, like, where PUBG was the talk of the town, and here we are 6 months later, and Fortnite's a cultural phenomenon. Like, sports, like, celebrities talk about it. Drake played it with Ninja. A pitcher for I think the Indians, like, went on the DL because he plays Fortnite so much or whatever. Like, celebrities play it's taken to the stratosphere that PUBG never experienced, and here we are, like, talking about the fact that PUBG is losing half of its audience which is still the most on Steam. Like PUBG is about to go die out, but it's such an interesting like microcosm, or it's an interesting look at a phenomenon. We have like courtside seats to it. You know, like I remember Minecraft. It was like Minecraft came out and people were like, "What's this?" And then suddenly Minecraft's like the biggest thing on the planet. But yeah, let's see what else. And then there's the whole Xbox thing, man. Like I don't know if you've been like keeping abreast about like the console version of PUBG, but you know they just put Miramar on Xbox, and honestly, I don't know. Like the preview, like I know it's in preview, but like they're so like they get things right, then they get things wrong. They screw stuff up. The game crashes like every 2 games now, right?
Really?
While it runs better, it still can run like crap in the beginning of the game. Oh yeah, dude, like constantly, like you play 3 games in a row, you're gonna crash. There's new bugs that weren't in this build that are new to this version. I just sit there and I'm just like, what the hell? Like, how could you not get this right? And it's funny because when I was doing my E3 hopes and dreams video, I had like a funny joke I was going to say, but maybe I'll save it later for the podcast. But I'm still just kind of sitting there and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, Bluehole, get your shit together. You know, like stop with these lawsuits and I don't know, maybe work on fixing not only the PC version of the game, but the Xbox version of the game. You know? Anyways, let's move on and talk about Crackdown. And while we're waiting here, while we got everybody here and 370 people, we only have 76 likes. It's kind of low, you know. Why don't you do me and Jez a favor and smash that like button? Smash it. It's free. Helps out the show. Like helps out the channel tremendously. And that's the one time I'm going to ask before the end of the show. So please, if you're enjoying it, hit that like button. Anyways. All right, Jez, you were in the middle of a controversy yet again, as you always seem to be. Crackdown. Now, I'll set it up. You knock it down. Here we go. Amazon Spain canceled pre-orders for Crackdown 3. And people went with the narrative like, oh my God, it's canceled. They finally did it. Those monsters. And Jez was out there reporting, intrepid sideline reporter that he is, being like, hold on, dudes. Hold on, dudes. 1 second. Let me ring up my contacts at Xbox PR. Let me get on the Jez phone. You know, that green phone that Jez has.
Green phone.
The green phone, the Jez phone. Man. He calls up PR. PR tells Jez it's not canceled.
Actually, no. PR were like, I'll investigate. But then Aaron Greenberg tweeted me. In the middle of me waiting for PR. But yeah, I mean, I talked to people I know at Xbox, and they were like, "No, it isn't cancelled." And someone said, "If it's cancelled, it's really strange because I'm playing a dev build right now."
He just doesn't know it's canceled. They're gonna tell him later that day, like, "What are you doing? Stop working on that game."
Yeah. So it's funny, but it's so funny, man. People were like, "Oh, look how fast Jez was to damage control that."
Oh, I know. Like, I saw.
Dude, it's kind of my job to write about facts that are factual, So, oh God. But anyway, yeah, I just asked the question, like, what does this mean? Is this bad news? Is Amazon jumping the gun? What's going on? And they were just like, I don't know. Aaron Greenberg spoke to Amazon and they were like, oh, it's a glitch. So, but other people were like, sometimes Amazon kind of, they cancel pre-orders for when things are delayed indefinitely or something. Someone said, I don't know.
Indefinitely?
But, yeah, like when there's no fixed release date. So, but, we don't know ultimately. I think like pretty much the first question I'm going to ask if I get to speak to anyone at E3 is give us a status update on Crackdown, like a definitive one. If they don't talk about it in the presser, That's going to be like people are going to be really confused. I don't know.
So I mean, okay. So what do we think here? What are we thinking? Are we thinking because I put out a prediction that it was delayed, right? Or at least that I think it's going to be delayed. But I'm not. I don't know. Like anything can happen. Like even my prediction is just a prediction. I don't have any. I don't have any inside information, right? Um, do you still think it's possible the game comes out this year, whether it's July or November? Because while they were quick to come out and put down the talk about it being canceled, they also never talked about or addressed the rumor that it was delayed because both those things were going on at the same time. So while Aaron was quick to dismiss it being canceled, he didn't say a damn word about it being delayed to next year. So what do you, if you had to put the odds on it, Jez, the odds of it releasing this year, what is it?
I would say odds are that it doesn't release this year, frankly. I mean, either it's delayed into the jaws of Red Dead Redemption, which is bad, or it's just delayed into 2013.
2013? We're going back in time. Holy
yeah, we're going
crap.
back in time. 2019. I don't think it's coming out this year. I think like Microsoft wants it to be up there, with their core franchises. And since Sumo's not the biggest dev in the world, they're going to need more time than maybe another studio might.
You say that, but they're also working on the other game that was leaked, that's Team Sonic Racing. That Walmart leaked, and that they officially kind of came out and said, yeah. So, I mean, they're working on 2 games at least. I thought their studio was like 500 people. Or they had multiple studios.
Maybe they do. They've got multiple studios, don't they? I don't know. But I just don't know, man. I've heard all sorts of things about that game, and I just don't know what to believe anymore. So I've just sort of taken a sit back, wait and see approach. I mean, I've heard that it's going well. I've heard that it's going bad. I don't know what to believe. So.
Well, we won't have long to find out because we'll find out for sure on the 10th. If it's not at the show, 2019. If it's at the show and there's a trailer, they obviously have a date behind it. It could literally be, here's Crackdown 3, beta starts now, game releases next month, as kind of like the whole 2-month game for Game Pass. You have Sea of Thieves in March, you had State of Decay in May, maybe Crackdown 3 is July, then you're going to have Forza in September, then maybe a Gears game or something in November, and then something in January. Rinse, repeat. It kind of fits nicely into that. But I don't know. Like, they've been so quiet about this game. And I don't know either, man. Like, a part of me thinks like next week, part of me thinks next week Microsoft's just gonna put out a press release and be like, Crackdown won't be at E3, and here's the reasons why. And it'll just be like, we're giving the game a bit more time, more budget. You could expect it in 2019, blah blah blah. But then a part of me is just like, it's gonna show up at E3. And it's gonna have a trailer showcasing the multiplayer, and it's gonna be like, play the multiplayer now, and you can play the beta. Yeah,
it could go either way. I mean, ultimately, who knows?
Yeah, and he wants me to answer this question. He's like, Rand, can you speak to Aaron Greenberg's comment that Xbox isn't holding anything back this E3? Is that simply PR talk, or is it like we will see a roadmap talk? That is PR talk.
Yeah.
Because when they says something like that, right? When they say Xbox isn't holding anything back this E3, it also implies that they were holding stuff back for previous E3s. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not holding back this time. It's like, so you were holding back previous times then? His job is to get excitement, to build to get people pumped, right? That's what Aaron does. That's his job. So yeah, I mean, because I guess he couldn't answer, but what if his comment was more like, it is what it is, like what if he just said, we'll be there and we'll do our best, I don't know. I wouldn't read too much into PR pieces, and that's exactly what I think that is.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's I don't think there's any reason to have a huge amount of hype for Xbox C3 this year. I could be completely wrong. I don't really know anything about what they're going to announce. Nothing concrete. But I think they've done a pretty good job of not letting anything leak this year. Unlike last year, where I pretty much had everything about Scorpio before it was announced. This year, I've got nothing.
It's not, maybe they don't have anything. Maybe there's not nothing leaked because they don't got nothing.
Well, that's
there's nothing to leak if you don't have anything.
That's always that's always a possibility as well.
Yeah, I've seen people say that. But shout out to Mr. Kill Jr. for the super chat. Appreciate it. Shout out to D Blob for the super chat. He says he doesn't like the secrecy with Crackdown 3 delayed surely. I just don't know, man. And Jez doesn't know. It's a game that's been in limbo. They talked about it at E3 last year, showed it off, gave a release date, and then just went dark. We haven't heard about it since. All that's been talked about is Phil saying that the team is working well on it and they have a date and all this stuff, but rumors abound about it not being an E3. So I don't know, or not coming out this year. And honestly, I don't want another game from Microsoft that is just mediocre or just okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want a great game, or at the very least, a really good game. You know what I mean? Like a really good, great, masterpiece level stuff. Because I look like a 10 out of 10's like masterpiece, like a 9's like fantastic, 8 is really good, 7 is 8's like great, 7's like a really good, 6 is okay, 5 is average. That's kind of how I look at my review scale. Is those what I would give it? Anything less than 5 is a below average game.
Yeah.
And I just want Crackdown to just be at that like 8-9 level where it's like really good or great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree, man. Crackdown is the third game in the series. It can't be mediocre. It just can't. And hopefully they'll actually pull out all the stops and make it, at least like Gears 4 level. Gears 4 sort of, that sort of level of quality. Like even if you're not into that sort of game, it should at least be that sort of level of quality. So, I don't know. I don't know, man.
But if you did know, would you tell us?
Depends if I was under NDA or not.
What are you under NDA on right now?
I can't tell you.
Oh, come on with this. You can. Huh. It's just a conversation between me and you. Nobody else is watching. Nobody else is here.
To be fair, I haven't even got that much under NDA. To be fair, so, I'm pretty much. I know as much as anyone else at the moment. I got a hell of a lot of rumors, unsubstantiated rumors.
You want to talk about them rumors?
We've talked about them before, loads of times.
Well, yeah, but what about this rumor? Gears of War Battle Royale.
I tweeted about that like a few months ago. So if Microsoft does do that, they stole my idea, and I'm going to sue them, and I'm going to use the same lawyer that PUBG's using.
What about that? Right? Because Polygon came out and they said, "Yo, there's 3 Gears of War games Microsoft's announcing at this E3."
3?
Yeah, 3. Not just one game, not just 2 games, but 3 games. One of them being Gears of War 5, which looks more and more like a certainty considering all the games that have been proven true from the Walmart Canada leak, right?
Mm-hmm.
A Gears of War spin-off game, they said that was like Halo Wars, which, there's been rumors for a long time that of a Gears spin-off game that's kind of like XCOM, Halo Wars, or, something along those lines. And then they also said a Battle Royale title. Now, immediately I think, man, could Gears of War even work in Battle Royale? Like, the maps are incredibly tiny in Gears of War. The weapons aren't exactly what I would call long-range engagement. Like, yeah, you do have like a sniper rifle, but
They would have to very
Slow
drastically
movement
change.
speed. Yeah, like no vehicles. You'd have to change a lot. But then I'm thinking, maybe I don't know. I don't know, Jez. I mean, I I kind of want it to be true just to see what a Gears Battle Royale game would be. But at the same time, it's like, this has got to be. I mean, you remember Polygon? They were the ones who were like, Microsoft is buying not only EA and not only PUBG, but they're also buying Valve. You remember?
And they're buying Google and Amazon.
Yeah, and like,
they're buying everything. No.
So there's like credibility to rumors and stuff, and then they're just making shit up. You know what I mean? Are they? Is this one of those things where they literally heard from somebody that potentially there's a Gears of War Battle Royale game, or is this like them just fucking shitting out ideas and just being like, that one smells good, it'll bring in the clicks. Let's talk about a Gears of War Battle Royale title.
I'm sure it's just a case of Polygon heard Microsoft would like to buy those companies, and they just sort of decided, oh, that means they will buy those companies. I mean, I'm sure Microsoft would love to buy EA and have a favorable deal for EA, one that, like, you know, was really cheap and didn't cost them much money, because EA would totally fit their business model, and they could just they could merge EA Access and Game Pass, and it'd be hunky dory, you know. But at the same time, Microsoft doesn't have that kind of cash. Well, it does, but Xbox does not have that kind of cash, and it's just ridiculous. Can you imagine if it's true? We've been here before, Rand. It's not true. But can you imagine if it was true? No, it's not true. But can you imagine?
Could you imagine? But you always said you know it's a game that's got chainsaws. You love it,
dude. I think, like, I mean, they could totally do it. I mean, there's no reason they couldn't do it. I mean, the engine supports that. They've got the cloud infrastructure to do it and all that sort of stuff. They'd have to change the way Gears feels. They'd have to make it a little bit more fast-paced and all that sort of stuff. But there's no reason they couldn't do it, and it'd probably sell. So who the hell knows, man? All I know is I want my Gears of War XCOM game. That's what I want. I'm probably the only person who actually does want that, but I want it.
Well, I mean, why do you want it?
Because I like XCOM, and I like Gears, and I like XCOM Gears. I don't know. I just like the idea of it. Call me crazy.
You're crazy, Jez. You're absolutely insane.
Have you played XCOM?
Yeah, I played XCOM. XCOM, it's fun.
Why don't you want XCOM Gears then?
I mean,
it'd be awesome.
I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where I'm not like in love with XCOM, and I'm not even really in love with like something like an RTS. And it's one of those things where it's like, do people really? I don't know. Like, I don't really want an XCOM Gears of War, even if it was true. Like, I would rather have a different type of genre. I'm not saying that it couldn't be great, because it could be great. But then I also look at the rumored developer, and I'm like, Splash Damage. I don't really have a lot of faith in them to make an outstanding game. You know what I mean? That's like one of the problems I have with Microsoft overall, right? Is their reliance on these mediocre developers to create new IP for them instead of using the talent they have at their first party. And the talent they have at their first party is basically locked to a desk making Halo, Gears, and Forza. You know what I mean? Like Recore in the hands of maybe a different developer or a better developer is probably a really good title. But nobody had heard of Armature Studios, right? And maybe some of it has to do with the budget. Undead Labs seems like a nice developmental studio, but maybe they could have done more with more money. Who knows? But it's like Sumo Digital to make Crackdown 3. Like what? Who? Is that really a good decision? Like Splash Damage? Like
Splash Damage made Judgment, right?
No, Gears Judgment was made by People Can Fly.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I'm just saying, like,
what is Splash Damage made?
Brink 2.
Oh.
They've mostly been contract devs and stuff. After Brink 2 failed, they really haven't done much. That's what I'm saying. Like, the choice of the studio matters a lot, because it's about the the personnel there. And there are reasons why like these studios are independent or maybe not thought of very highly. And I mean, I know Splash Damage worked on the multiplayer for Gears 4, but it was under direct, it was under like direct uh, control or observation from the coalition. I mean, I just
couldn't this one be under direct observation too?
I mean, maybe, but I mean, like, but if it's not a Gears game and it's an XCOM game and just a Gears clone, I mean, how much direct control do they really have there? If they're, I don't even. I'm just saying, I would be like much more interested if it was the coalition making something like that rather than a studio out there, who, in my opinion, keep in mind, doesn't really have the best track record, and that's the kind of thing I see with Microsoft and some of their choices of some of the developers. Maybe it comes down to budget. Maybe it's like, we want this game, we don't want to spend a lot. We'll send, Splash Damage is cheap, Sumo's cheap. You know what I'm saying?
But it goes back to what we were saying about Game Pass, wasn't it? That if like these sort of quote unquote buggy, mediocre experiences can find success because of Game Pass, what impetus does Microsoft really have to make big AAA games anymore?
Well, but Predator H2O, shout out to you, buddy. Thanks for the super chat. He goes and says, "Do you think Microsoft is afraid to put money behind these studios because how they were milked by Lionhead and Platinum?" What do you think, Jez? Because I think the Scalebound cancellation and the Fable Legends stuff, combined with the directive to not invest in games, really, I think that had an effect. I think State of Decay 2 was supposed to be a bigger game, but I think when the budget cuts came down, it clearly got affected.
Possible.
I don't know. I don't think they're afraid to put the money behind it. I think they just weren't able to at that time. Like, I think right now, like if Microsoft had, and if Phil was in the position he is now, I don't think Scalebound gets canceled. If Game Pass existed when those games came, like Fable Legends and Scalebound were around, and the beginning of 2017, I don't think these games get canceled. What do you think, Jez? If like the situation we're in right now and they're in right now, if that was, would we still see those games being canceled?
It's hard to say. I mean, I heard something interesting recently that a developer who was looking to ship, they were looking for a publisher at GDC, and Microsoft's publishing team basically said to them, "We're not looking for more second-party deals right now because we're still undergoing restructuring." So, it's interesting. There's still things shifting at Microsoft. I mean, I don't know if you saw yesterday, but Kudo Sonoda's team got completely disbanded yesterday.
Oh yeah,
Laura Lollipop, who's a HoloLens game and app executive, worked at Microsoft for 11 years. She got fired. So like, Microsoft are seriously, nobody's safe right now. They're pivoting, they're moving slowly, and we in the Microsoft blogosphere, they always talk about how like getting Microsoft to turn around as this sort of huge lumbering beast that it is, it can often be really hard because of how many people, how many teams there are and stuff like that. Microsoft is like downsizing a lot to try and make them a bit more nimble in a world where Chrome sort of exploded out of nowhere and destroyed Internet Explorer and Microsoft Edge. Discord exploded out of nowhere and destroyed Skype because, and it was because like Microsoft is slow to react because of how big the company is. And all these smaller companies are far more nimble. They're able to just sort of, work on making great features, where Microsoft have to go through all these processes to make things compatible with the rest of their cloud and all these other systems, and get approval from all these sort of weird management hierarchies and stuff like that. So it really does feel like Microsoft's trying to streamline everything right now, and that's why I've written before that I feel like we're gonna see the real fruits of this reorg next year rather than this year, because
2 years.
it's you think 2 years?
I think 2 years.
Well, I think we'll start to see a more definitive roadmap next year. I don't think we're going to see.
Oh, I agree. I okay, yeah.
We won't get the fruits. We'll see the fruits next year, and
I
then we'll
kind
get
of
the
agree
fruits
with you
the
on
year
that one. Yeah, I mean, like here's the thing. Well, let me just address the super chat really first. Gamer M, we appreciate the support. He says, please explain Greenberg's tweet about Crackdown 3 cancellation. The delay is what everyone is asking about, and spring 2018 ends soon, so that's a delay by default. Greenberg's job is to put everything in a positive light for Xbox. Tweeting out a Crackdown 3 cancellation wouldn't, or at least answering that, it wouldn't put it in a right, because he'd be lying, especially if it was getting delayed. And they probably want to give us the information in a way that they can control. But yeah, I mean, spring. They did say spring, and spring ends on June 21st. So unless the game comes out by then, yeah, it's got a delay. But like the whole like Kudos team getting all like kind of moved around or fired, and Laura Lollipop leaving and things like that, like. You know, then you said that was because of the HoloLens and the what else, like the VR or mixed reality thing.
Yeah, a lot of the mixed reality teams and HoloLens app teams seems to be gone now.
There's no future in that. There was no future in that. I could have told you this was like nobody really even cares about VR right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like HoloLens was never going to do anything. And I think Microsoft finally realized that and was just like, cut our losses on it. I mean,
but they're still Alex Kipman's still there, so I don't know. And Laura wasn't even working on games. She was working on business apps for HoloLens. She made an app called Layout where you could sort of plan your factory floor by using virtual reality. So like you wear the HoloLens and you can place like virtual machines, like literally machines, not virtual machines like servers, like literal machines as holograms on your floor plan, and sort of work out where you want to keep everything and stuff. And that was a business app. So you think that'd be like the perfect kind of app for HoloLens, but apparently no good for Microsoft. So it's a shame, because she seemed really cool. So I don't know, man. I these days, back in the Windows 8 days, man, I really felt like I understood what Microsoft were doing, and I understood what their plan was. Everything seemed to make sense, blah blah. But the thing is, they seem to change strategy now every few months. It feels like, and I don't have a clue what they're beyond the obvious stuff like cloud streaming for games and stuff like that. I don't know what the long-term play is here. I don't know, and it's annoying. I don't like not knowing. Rand, can you get a job at Microsoft and then leak me everything?
Well, I mean, the long-term plan is clearly Xbox, or what they would refer to Xbox everywhere. I mean, they've been pretty like upfront about that. Phil's talked about that. You know, the creation of the cloud gaming division with the goal of reaching 2 billion people. I mean, yeah. It's there. What's important is that focus and you know, games like Miami Street, which is a joke, by the way, or saying that it's important, but this kind of signals Microsoft reemergence into the mobile market potentially.
Yep.
Because that's where, like, look, I think Microsoft's plan is like literally, you're a gamer. Where do you game? If it's on mobile, we're going to try to get you, and we're going to try to be there. Is it on console? We're going to try to get you too, and we're going to be there. Are you on PC? Well, we have a plan to get you there. They don't. I think it's like they don't care where you're at. They just want to reach you.
Yes.
Whether that's through their own like titles, you know, like on Xbox with like Sea of Thieves and put all that stuff in Game Pass, whether it's maybe new experiences they're building for mobile and PC and things like that. Like their goal is that, and I think they've been pretty upfront about it. I just don't think people want to like. I just don't think people like they don't want to see it. You know, they don't want to see Xbox like be everywhere, because there's that tribe mentality of like, I can only get it here, and I'm part of a group. You know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the whole like Miami Street, Jazz. Like, what the fuck is Miami Street? Why does it even exist? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it only makes sense. It only makes sense as if like, well, they're trying to reach a different audience that like somewhere else in line with their.
I don't think they're even trying to reach gamers with that. I am convinced Miami Street is purely to show the game to devs and be like, look, this is what you'll be able to do with our cloud. This is what you'll be able to do with Windows Core OS, which is the next version of Windows, which supports folding devices and stuff. And we had rumors last week that it's not only Microsoft working on folding tablets, but also Dell and possibly HP and a bunch of other companies as well. So this is Miami Street is the first hint of a wider re-entry into the mobile market. And did you notice? You probably didn't notice, but Google removed the tablet section from their Android website recently because Android tablets are just like nobody wants them. So like Microsoft obviously sees some kind of opportunity where that can be like, well, we'll have devices that can be tablets, phones, and mini game consoles at the same time, and hopefully that's where they'll position. That's where Dell and all those OEMs will position those sort of pocket PCs, because that's what they are basically. They're going to be pocket PCs powered by ARM processors, which they're no slouch in the graphics department these days. You can get pretty good graphics on mobile games nowadays. I mean, Fortnite runs on them and stuff like that. So, but that doesn't really matter for Xbox. And I think, like you say, a lot of people worry that with all this focus on elsewhere, the sort of traditional Xbox is a console thing sort of gets lost to some degree in all this. The identity, yeah. It's like the whole idea of Xbox becoming a service, which is what it's going to become. It's going to become Xbox as a service, and it's like Tencent. We talk about Tencent on this podcast sometimes because they're a massive, massive, massive company. But you never really hear about them. They're bigger than EA, but you never really hear about them. They power some of the world's biggest games, like League of Legends and all these mobile games in China and stuff. And they've got a big stake in Fortnite. They just bought a controlling share in Path of Exile, the Path of Exile developer, and all that sort of stuff. Microsoft wants to be more like them. They want to be, but it's kind of like, where does that leave Xbox? Well, Xbox fade out into the background like Tencent as a brand has faded out into the background, or Microsoft just be like this service that powers these experiences. It's there's a huge opportunity for Microsoft there to make Xbox, much, much bigger than what it can be as just a console. But at the same time, it's also kind of a shame if that's like they're sort of leaving behind that identity that, I grew up with and you grew up with and a lot of other gamers grew up with. I think that's, I just hope they bring the rest of us along for the ride, I guess. That's the way I see it.
Well, I hope that they, I mean, I know they realize this, and they I just hope they reinvest into quality exclusives to put into Game Pass, because I think Game Pass is extremely important to Microsoft, and to get people on other platforms, like to even be interested in your stuff, you need an experience that it is, number one, like only available there, number two, is good. So for all this to work, you got to have things people covet. People covet God of War. People covet Last of Us. People covet Legend of Zelda. And to only get those experiences, you have to buy into the platform. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure people covet Sea of Thieves or State of Decay, even if they are okay games. You know what I mean? Microsoft needs to create the title that people on other platforms and people everywhere really look at and are like, this is I want this. I need this.
Well, that's the big hope here, is that Microsoft hopefully will realize that in order to have a compelling cloud, they need to have compelling services that are exclusive, like Tencent and all that stuff. They those games aren't platform exclusive, but they're part of Tencent's portfolio and stuff like that. If Microsoft wants people to subscribe to their service, then they'll need, to have exclusive games that are compelling to and exclusive to that service. But right now, like you say, they don't have that. But hopefully, this will make it more clear than anything else in Microsoft's history that exclusives are going to be critical to this sort of ambition. So, it remains to be seen. Do they buy up other studios? Do they buy up other games and other franchises that are already existing and stuff? Kind of like what Tencent does,
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, they didn't manage to buy PUBG, which you would have thought would have been the obvious thing to get. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna ask you a question, Jez, because I was asked this the other day on a different podcast. Does like all the leaks, the Walmart Canada stuff, leaking all those games, the Assassin's Creed Odyssey getting leaked through a keychain and all that stuff, uh, do leaks impact your enjoyment of E3 in any way?
No, this is part of my job. I haven't really experienced the true E3 for a long time now. Like I know I got things under embargo, which is kind of like a leak to me and stuff like that. Like I just um no. I mean back in the day, even then, not really. Because there's always going to be loads of surprises and stuff to take in. And also like maybe like if a game leaks, like, you know, if we get like a Gears of War XCOM keychain, I'd be like, yeah, I'm really excited for that now, and then I'll look forward to seeing what the real thing looks like. You know, so,
Right.
not
I don't
me. I
know.
mean,
Like,
how do you feel about it? I know
well,
some people get really upset about that.
well, yeah. Like some of my friends get really upset, like really upset. So I always got to make sure, like, I don't really talk about that stuff. Um, I like for me, I liken it to the journey. It's the journey, not the destination, right? Um, Whereas, like, just knowing that a title, like knowing, say, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be there, doesn't matter. Like, okay, I know it's there. What matters is the trailer. What matters is the gameplay, and
Yeah.
that's not going to leak. And sure, okay, if that did leak, then yeah, that would ruin some enjoyment of it, of seeing like a trailer beforehand. Yes, but
But
like
then
just
you don't have to watch it.
well, well, that is true. That's your own choice. But some people see the information as a detriment. Like if I went to my buddies and I'm like, "This is going to be there. This is going to be there. This is going to be there, and this is going to be there," they're going to be greatly upset because just knowing what's there, like ruins it for them. Whereas knowing what's there doesn't ruin for me because what I'm interested in seeing is what's not going to be leaked, and that's like what the game is and like I mentioned this before, like it's like the Snape killed Dumbledore thing. I I was spoiled on that before I read that Harry Potter book, right? That Snape killed Dumbledore, and I didn't really, even though it's spoiler, even though people like hate that, it was always I didn't really consider that much to be a spoiler, and it didn't ruin my enjoyment of the book because you don't know the context behind the situation. You don't know why it happens. You don't know the scene and how it's set up. You don't know how it plays out. All you know is the finality, the destination. Snape kills Dumbledore. But you don't know the
Oh,
journey.
spoilers!
I'm just saying, you don't know the journey. You don't know the
Spoilers!
why, the when, the how, like all that
Spoilers.
stuff. And if that was spoiled for me, sure, then then I would be upset. But that's what I mean by the difference between the destination and the journey. Um, so
Well,
the
I don't know. Like big, huge surprises, they have their own value. Like say for example, if I was like living in the 80s and someone had spoiled Empire Strikes Back for me, I would have been absolutely livid. I would never have spoken to that person again, ever in my life, because that's super mean. Because the plot twist in Empire Strikes Back is it's iconic. It's like the ultimate spoiler.
I mean, yeah, okay, for that one, sure. But I don't know. I
But
maybe it's just my
E3 leaks just aren't as big of a deal. I mean, can you think back to your most epic E3 surprise that really made you like, oh my god? What was it?
I mean, when people say that, the first thing comes to my mind was watching, and I forget what year it was. It was Don Matrick was on stage, and he was about to close the show, and somebody walked up behind him and tapped him on the shoulder, and it was like the president of Square Enix, and he rolled a trailer for Final Fantasy 13. And I remember at the time, well, okay, but at the time back then, Final Fantasy 13 was one of the most hyped games out there, right? It was exclusive to PlayStation 3 at the time, and I was a gigantic Final Fantasy fan, and it was also something that didn't leak per se. And I remember sitting there like dumbstruck, awestruck. I'm like, holy fucking shit! And I mean, regardless of how Final Fantasy 13 actually turned out, which was okay, it wasn't great or anything. Like that moment always, like that's the one I always think back on of being this surprise, and then the reaction later on, like PS3 fans threw a hissy fit, right? Because it was the one game that they always could put over Xbox fans. Like, well, it doesn't really matter that you have Gears of War and this stuff. We have Final fucking Fantasy, right? And then to see like those people melt down and break because of that was added on to like the moment for me.
Wow, you're mean.
I'm just saying, like that was the last time like I was probably truly surprised, and it's because I was anticipating it. Like it was a game that I wanted to play. It was a game that I was literally going to get a PlayStation 4, and then all of a sudden I didn't have to get a PlayStation. My favorite franchise was on the Xbox. It was something that nobody ever said it could happen. And then it did happen. And I can't think of one since. Like, even if you would say, what's the best announcement Microsoft had this entire gen?
That was my next question.
A lot of people would say backwards compatibility for the Xbox. And I rewatched the other day that conference, the 2015 conference. And the amount of applause and people, screaming at that announcement was greater than any other game that Microsoft has showed off this entire generation.
Yeah.
And while originally I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool, I don't really care about backwards compatibility. So like to me, it's just like, while it was a nice wow moment for a lot of people, like I have no interest in it. So you know what I mean? And okay, what about you? What is the biggest announcement, Mike? Like the one surprise? Then what would you think it is, or for you?
Honestly, for me, it was and this again, it's the first thing that comes to mind. It was when the Killer Instinct music kicked in.
Okay,
and
yeah.
I was watching E3 with a friend, and this is before I was a blogger. I think this was actually the last E3 that I watched as a just regular fan and not press or anything. But I was watching it with my friend, and we were like screaming on Skype, like, "Oh my god, it's Killer Instinct!" Because nostalgia and just that music and everything. It was perfectly done, and I had no expectation for that game to be announced at all. I don't know if it was leaked or anything like that, but I wasn't really paying attention to any leaks or game news or anything like that back then. So I was just out of my mind excited for that. And I haven't really felt that way since, I guess, like you. I really liked backwards compatibility as well, but at the same time, it was kind of like, it's not as big as a surprise game announcement, which I don't think Microsoft's really had. A lot of the games they announce are just kind of like, huh, I'm sure that'll be good. I'm interested in that game, but it's never like, oh my god, hype mode engaged, like I felt with Killer Instinct. But again, that's like a very, very subjective thing, because I know not everyone's a huge fan of Killer Instinct.
No, but I remember watching the Killer Instinct thing and being like, huh, they're bringing Killer Instinct back. That's kind of cool. And even last year, when I'm thinking of the stuff they showed last year, the one that really maybe got the biggest reaction out of me was when they showed Metro Exodus, which
Yeah,
is a third party game, but at the time, like I didn't think it was going to be there. Like nobody had mentioned Metro Exodus being there, and then it was. It was showcased really early on, and it looked freaking amazing.
yeah.
You know, granted, maybe it wasn't a true gameplay trailer in the sense like the new Battlefield 5 trailer that came out clearly is like a fake gameplay thing. But just like seeing Metro on screen again and being like, huh, this was kind of a surprise, you know? That's like, I don't know. What's your favorite one from last year then? Because I mean, Ori 2 probably would have been for like it, but like I kind of like knew the game was coming. Otherwise, you know what I mean? Like, because it kind of leaked out there before.
Mm. You know, I'll be completely honest. I don't remember last year. I was there, right? Right, that was the Xbox One X video. I don't know, man. Nothing really. I mean, I expected Ori. I knew it was going to be good, so no surprise there. I don't know, man. I suppose State of Decay too. Seen more of that, but even then, like I had the BCD, and then I was disappointed because it just looked like, oh no, they're doing another AA game. So I even wrote about that last year. So I don't know. I mean, I was excited for the Xbox One X, but again, there was nothing really up there like Killer Instinct was for me, and I'm not expecting there to be anything up there like Killer Instinct this year either. But who knows, man? I mean, Microsoft have this capability to just completely surprise you, you know. And the things that might excite me might not necessarily excite someone else, and vice versa. Like, for example, if they demonstrate cloud streaming to a mobile device, I will absolutely love that. But I know most gamers won't give a damn. But for me, that's really exciting technology. I like the technology stuff. I like a lot of the platform stuff they do. So I'm really intrigued to see what Kareem's team's been up to. And I've got more interest in the cloud stuff than the games this year, I think. I don't know, man.
I don't really think gamers really care about the cloud streaming stuff. So like,
No, they don't.
I know,
They're
which is
targeting
why.
the casual market with that.
Well, yeah, but the casual market's not going to be watching E3. So, like, even though I know the cloud stuff's important and they probably want to show it off, I don't think E3 is the best moment to show that off on a press stage because the audience watching it's not going to care, and the audience that does care doesn't watch it. Unless it would be strictly for developers. Like, here's this, like,
Well, you have to remember, E3's it's evolved into more of a fan thing.
Yeah, but I mean,
there's supposed to be a trade show. There are people, there are investors watching that too.
True. But at the same time, there's a better showcase to show off that tech. It's like DICE or GDC, I mean, technically GDC, to show off something like that. So, you know what I mean? Like that's why, like, even though it's probably going to happen,
if
like,
they want that to have a big, they want that to make a splash. They want consumers to be aware of it and all that sort of stuff. I think like they have to show it off at E3. Even less people watch. Consumers don't watch in GDC. And anyway, the idea is that, you know, it'll be seamless because, like, theoretically they'll be able to get the Xbox One controller Bluetooth stack onto the different mobile platforms and stuff like that, and they'll just work. You know, the devs won't have to make touch controls or anything like that. You know. And a little birdie has told me that there might be, you know, special controllers for docking your mobile phone for playing Xbox games on your phone. I've heard, maybe, possibly. So, you know.
geez, that'll go over well.
I don't know if they're going to show that at E3. I've just heard it's being made, possibly.
Doc Wiz 2 says Jez doesn't know anything.
Yeah, okay. I mean, again, this is what I've heard. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I mean, if you want concrete stuff, don't listen to this show because, you know.
Don't even listen to the show.
Yeah.
You know, even if you want good opinions, don't listen to this show. Why does anybody listen to this show?
Yeah, I don't know. Why are you here? If you don't want to hear rumors, you know, I'm not making this shit up.
Yeah,
I'm not craving.
You're not Marcus Sellers.
No,
You know,
I'm not creative enough.
making stuff up.
I don't get. I mean, I do this podcast for fun. There's no benefit for me in this whatsoever, and there's no reason for me to make anything up. So I just telling you what I've heard, man. Don't like it? Don't listen. I don't care.
That's right. Well, you want to take some questions?
Sure, man.
Sure. Hit us up with your questions, and we will do our best to answer them. And we will try to answer it. Face wants to know, Random Jazz, with Fortnite and H1Z1 on PS4, should PUBG stay on Xbox? Is it too late to release on PlayStation 4? No, it should release on PlayStation. I mean, there's going to be people there that would buy PUBG. Maybe it's not as big as a market as they once thought with H1Z1 and Fortnite being on there and Call of Duty on there, but there's still an audience there that would buy the game, unless like PUBG felt they could get a better deal from Microsoft to stay exclusive than they would make up in lost sales on the PlayStation, right? If they felt like Microsoft offered them a check to stay exclusive, and that check was worth more than estimated sales they got on PlayStation, then maybe they stay. But I'm not even sure Microsoft would even want that anymore. That kind of would seem like wasted money, because I think PUBG's done just about enough for them as it ever will. And in fact, we've all noticed it because we play it every day. The wait times to get in matches have dramatically increased. It used to be instantaneous, and now you usually look at a good 40 seconds before you get into a game, before it matches you. And I don't know if that has something to do with the map, like with Miramar being added, which I can't imagine it does. But I think the player base not only on PC is dwindling, but I think the player base on Xbox is dwindling as well. I'm not saying you can't find a game, because you can, and it's within like 30 seconds or so, 45 to 30 seconds. But there is a stark contrast from before, months ago, where it was like you search and you're immediately in a game, and now you search and you're usually waiting 30 seconds or so. So, yeah. What do you think, Jez?
Yeah, I'm like you, man. I think they'll easily find a market on PlayStation, but again, it's kind of like we don't know what the deal is in real terms with what the deal is in real terms with what the deal looks like with Xbox. What does that deal look like? We don't know, and so I mean, there probably will come a time where depending on how long that exclusivity period is, there probably will be a time where it's just completely not worth it anymore. But this isn't like the old days. Port in between the consoles isn't as convoluted as it used to be, and it gets easier as well over time. So, in theory, there's nothing really stopping it from hitting a PlayStation eventually. I think it will. I think it will come to PlayStation eventually.
Yeah. Eternal Shaddai hit us up with the super chat. Appreciate it. He says, Random Jazz, do you think by any chance that we will see a cheaper version of HoloLens sync with Xbox One X and be compatible with all the games 4K 60 frames? No. I don't think HoloLens ever comes out, especially I think HoloLens is just kind of it won't come out for gaming market if it comes out at all.
Yeah, I don't think consumers will ever get their hands on HoloLens. I think it's like, I mean, I don't know at the end of the day, but I think the big barrier to VR is wearing something on your face. I mean, even if they shrunk that thing down to just regular glasses, it doesn't do anything particularly better than the laptop does anyway. It's just a kind of cool experience, but then it's kind of, once you've experienced it once, and I've had a HoloLens. I've owned one. Well, I loaned one from our company for a little while, and I had it for months, and I used it like a couple of times, and it was like, wow, this is incredible, this is amazing. And then it was like, oh, I don't really like wearing something on my head. I'm never going to use this again. And it's like the same thing with my because I've got a Windows Mixed Reality headset as well. I played a bunch of Steam VR games. I was like, yeah, Steam VR is cool. I played Arizona Sunshine, I believe it's called, and I played Super Hot VR, which was really, really cool. But I never finished it. And like when I think about playing it, it's kind of like, man, I just don't want to wear something on my face. I just don't like it. I got all these games on my 4K TV. Why would I bother wearing something on my face? It's a big ask, and it's a subtle thing. You know, I think you have to really, really like VR to want it, and I think the masses don't give a crap. You know, so it's not convenient.
So Jay Venue has a question. He wants to know why Xbox did not do a Halo arcade like House of the Dead with plastic gun. Would this make a good Kinect game? I mean, maybe it would have made a good Kinect game back during the 360 era, but Kinect is dead. So there's no reason to make a Kinect game, especially one of Halo. What do you? I mean, that's pretty much it, right? Like it.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about that other Halo arcade game, Microsoft didn't make it. They gave the assets to this arcade game company, and they made it. So, and there is rumors of a Halo VR game for Windows Mixed Reality, but now that Kudo Sonoda's team's been disbanded, it makes me wonder if this was just a whole big waste of time, and maybe that's like those resources now are going to be put back on Xbox, you know, making mainline Halo games instead of going for this pie in the sky thing that just it's never going to catch on. I have no faith in VR whatsoever. I don't care how good the tech gets. People don't want to wear something on their face. Enough said.
OBJ, shout out to OBJ. He wants to know: Do you think the next Gears of War game will be a real-time strategy game? If so, I will vomit. I don't. I think Gears of War 5 will be a traditional Gears game, with a campaign, a multiplayer, and horde. I think the spin-off. I don't see it. I don't know what people really consider. Like, is XCOM considered a real-time strategy game? Because when I think of real-time strategy, I think of stuff like StarCraft, Warcraft.
That's real-time strategy.
So XCOM is real-time strategy, but just on a smaller.
No. XCOM's not real-time strategy. Real-time strategy means it plays out in real time. You know, and XCOM is turn-based. So a real-time strategy game would be like Halo was.
Yeah, so I don't think the next Gears of War is a real-time strategy game. As for it being good, who knows? And if for even being real, who knows? We'll find out in 8 days, I guess. Let's see. Shane wants to know PS4 Pro or PS5. Hold off at this point or purchase. Already have a base PS4.
Good question.
I would, if you already have a base PS4, unless you can get a Pro for super cheap, I would just wait for the 5. At that point, I mean, because you're probably gonna see 2 years left before 5 comes out, anyways. So unless you're cool with spending, well, I mean, I guess it depends on how much. I guess this really comes down to how much you can get a Pro for. You could trade in your base PS4 and get or your base PS4 and get the Pro for cheap. Then it might be worth it. Well, the question is, do you have a 4K TV? Because if you don't, then no. If you do, then I would maybe consider it, depending on the price you can get it at. That's what I think. Multitude wants to know if the chance they will revive Phantom Dust as an exclusive for Xbox. No. I don't know what do you think, Jez? Phantom Dust getting revived?
I don't know. They probably looked at how well the reboot did as a free-to-play game, and I can't imagine it did that well. So I don't know, man. Or maybe they handed off to a third-party dev or something like that. I don't know. I can't see it coming back. I mean, it was sort of like a passion project more than anything at the time, I think.
Yeah. Ryan Landis wants to know how much focus will be on added backwards compatibility titles at E3, and should Xbox keep PC time to a minimum? They usually do, and
all the heavy hitters are there pretty much now. I think the only games that are left are games with complex licensing issues. Figuring out who owns the rights to what music and that sort of stuff, and even things like sound effects. Those are problems as well. It comes down to that, I think. Most of the heavy hitters are there. I can't see a huge amount of time dedicated to backwards compatibility unless it's
I,
like the old school.
yeah, I mean, like they dedicated some time originally to the announcement in 2015, and then they brought it up again last year because they were reintroducing like the OG Xbox back compat. But I just can't see them dedicating a segment to it, considering it's a known quantity at this point.
Yeah.
So if they do talk about it, it's like outside the press conference and interviews and things like that, and maybe a video or something on Inside Xbox or something. I don't think I don't think they'll because what are they going to show? I mean, they've already talked about it in 2015 and last year. I can't
Mm.
imagine them also showing off new original Xbox titles. Um, it's just it'll be something that's like safe for like after the show. Um, uh, let's see. The Grunt Master wants to know, Rand, do you think Microsoft won't let Halo and Gears end so the studios can make new games? Um, well, I think they won't let Halo and Gears end because it makes them too much money. I mean, Gears they spent I think it was $500 million on getting in the IP, right, Jez?
I have no idea.
It was a lot of money, and uh, they bought it because they want to be able to make Gears games for a long time. How they even changed the studio's name to the Coalition. Same thing with Halo. Halo is outside of Minecraft, the biggest game that Microsoft Studios has. So I don't think they're ever going to. I don't think at any point are they going to end Halo. They might end Master Chief's story at some point,
No.
which I don't know how the fan base will react to that. But I don't think they come out ever one day and be like, by the way, guys, this is the last Halo we're ever making. This is it. This is the end of the road. But I do think at some point they'll be like, this is it for Master Chief. And maybe we already saw glimpses of that with Locke being in Halo 5. They probably were already thinking post Chief, but nobody gave a shit about Agent Locke because he was a boring character. So maybe they go back to the drawing board. I just want to see a different take on Halo, and I would love to see the Coalition do the different take on Halo. I still want my Halo game. I still want my Master Chief game. I still want my Halo multiplayer, but I also want to see a Halo game in the Halo universe that is different. That's not necessarily a first-person shooter.
I know people didn't really respond well to Halo Wars 2. Like, it didn't really light the industry on fire. It was just sort of like, eh. Most people just sort of ignored it and stuff like that. But I had a lot of fun playing Halo Wars 2, especially the DLC mode they released, the Terminus Firefight mode where you have to fight back waves and waves of flood as you build up your base and stuff like that. Kind of like State of Decay and Frostpunk. I just like those kind of games, man. But I agree with you. I'd like to see these games branch out into other sort of genres, and maybe even the mainline series branch out into other genres, like hybridize a bit, like with how Assassin's Creed found new, they broke new ground, going deeper in on the RPG aspects, and apparently the rumor is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, that has like a branching narrative like The Witcher, and they've gone even more after RPG elements there. And I'm not saying I want to see Gears of War the RPG, but it'd be nice to see it sort of have a grander vision than the linear corridor shooter with chest high walls. It's so on rails. It feels the gameplay feels dated now. I'd like to see that evolve a bit.
All right, so last question we got here. Rhythmless wants to know what game would you love a sequel for, but you know is never coming out. Mine is
Right.
War of the Monsters.
What?
His is Wars of the Monsters, a game he wants a sequel for, but never will happen.
War of the Monsters? I don't even know that game.
I remember that game. What is yours, Jazz? Because this kind of goes to like, I did a video about this about like what I would love to see at E3, right?
Quantum Break. Quantum Break.
Quantum out of everything, yours is Quantum Break too.
Well, out of everything in the whole world, or
I
just
mean, yeah,
Xbox?
needed the Xbox wasn't
Oh, okay.
specified. I
Mass
mean,
Effect then.
So what? A Mass Effect 5?
Yeah, I want bloody yeah, I do. I want more Mass Effect. I don't like it being on hiatus. I don't care that Andromeda was bad. EA should. We shouldn't. I'd rather get Mass Effect 5 than Anthem, personally.
Down with Anthem.
Down with Anthem. Yeah. But I appreciate that the devs maybe wanted to do something new, but it's so the way that nearly iconic franchise was ended so unceremoniously with this sort of broken, unfinished game really, really sits poorly with me. So I'd love to see them bring Mass Effect back. You know, like Ubisoft didn't give up on Assassin's Creed with Unity. They released a good game with Syndicate, and then they were like, okay, we need to go back and rethink this a bit in more depth. And they came back and released Origins, which is arguably the best in the series. So why can't they do that with Mass Effect? You know, that's I think we will get a sequel to Mass Effect one day, but it's gonna be a long time. I don't know. But games that I think will never definitely get a sequel for are probably things like Silent Hill. You know, more Metal Gear Solid. We'll never get a real Metal Gear Solid again, and Survive does not count ever.
Yeah, doesn't count.
You know, and honestly, Quantum Break and Alan Wake. You know.
Well, yeah, you took one from me. Alan Wake 2 is a game that I would love. Also, I mean, the big one, the elephant in the room, the one that has been teased forever, and there's like two Valve properties, but Portal 3 and Half-Life 3. I mean, Half-Life 3 is like the ultimate, right?
Yeah.
Again,
I didn't even think that because it's like the obvious one.
Yeah, it's the game that everybody wants. It's one of the most iconic franchises in gaming, and Valve just doesn't want to make it. And Portal's amazing, and Portal 2 is like one of the best games of last gen. And the fact that we don't have a Portal 3 is disgusting. You know what I mean? I guess we got one more question to answer because Ravenflow just hit up the super chat. Thank you. He says, if EA screws up Anthem and decided to scrap BioWare, do you think Microsoft should buy BioWare and meld them with 343 or keep them as a separate studio? Well, Microsoft should have bought BioWare before EA did. That was a mistake on Microsoft's part for letting that studio slip through their fingers and basically taking Mass Effect away from them.
When is the last time Microsoft bought a studio outright?
I mean, they bought a couple last gen, but smaller ones. Like they bought the
really been doing that.
They bought the local. They bought the local cycle devs. Remember? They bought them, and they also bought the Press Play devs, the ones that did Max and the Curse of Brotherhood, and the ones who were making like the Deep Rock Galactic. Then they got rid of those. I can't think of the last time they bought a studio though.
It just doesn't feel like it's in Microsoft's MO, but it's like it really should be.
Oh, Mojang. Shout out to Predator. They bought Minecraft, and they got Mojang, the developer, behind it. There you go.
Okay. That's true.
That is true. So, thanks for the question, guys. Thanks for all the super chats. Really thankful for all the support. And with that, we're going to end the show. This extra, or not extra, but this rare holiday. I can't even speak. I don't know what is going on with me. I'm screwing up all my words. Am I having a stroke?
Because it's Saturday.
That's right.
We're off killer.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to use. I'm just not on my game because it's Saturday, and normally I don't really make videos or do anything on Saturday besides play games. But we appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you hate the show, make sure you get a thumbs down. If you're new to the channel, first time here, make sure you hit that sub button. Make sure you follow Jez on Twitter. Jez, what do you got going on for the rest of the week?
I interviewed the COO of Able Gamers last week about the Xbox Adaptive Controller. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, the Xbox Adaptive Controller and accessibility issues in games, please check that out next week because it's for a good cause and all that sort of stuff. Other than that, it's just E3 prep, my dude.
E3 prep.
Yeah. Gonna be busy couple of weeks. Also, I will be drinking heavy amounts of alcohol, probably.
Yes, and we will be. I think me and Jez will do a reaction to the Xbox show on Saturday.
Yes.
I don't know if Jez will be joining me for a PlayStation one because he won't. It'll be too late for him. But yeah, look for one sometime after the show is over. We'll be reacting to it, and maybe we'll get more people to join. I don't know. Maybe we'll just be me and Jazz for a little bit, and then if people want, a couple people want to join to talk about it, maybe we'll do something like that. We're still on for having a podcast the rest of the week, right? We might have one Wednesday or Thursday, maybe Thursday. And then, yeah, it's all E3 stuff. So thank you guys for watching here live on YouTube, or if you're watching later, appreciate it. If you're watching this on iTunes or Google Play, we appreciate you as well. Make sure everybody gives it a thumbs up and write a rating and all that great stuff. And we'll see you pretty soon, actually, Wednesday or Thursday. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys later. Peace.
Take care, everybody.